Hello and welcome to PhenomenaTelevision.com. My name is Alejandro Rojas and I'll be your host for this show. We're going to try to make this a monthly series and bring you information about the paranormal from throughout the world, not just here in Colorado. We'll do introductions on this first episode of Rick Nelson, my co-host, and myself. And normally at the beginning of the show, we're going to bring you paranormal news on UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, psychic abilities, just a whole myriad of different paranormal subjects. And not just research and news, we're also going to bring you interviews with many researchers and credible people who perhaps are PhDs or scientists that are working in this field. Luckily, Colorado has a lot of wonderful researchers and speakers that do a lot of great work in this field, and I think you're going to find some of this very interesting. Coming up here in this episode, we'll have introductions. We'll begin with Rick Nelson, the founder of the Paranormal Research Forum. Paranormal Research Forum is a lecture series that is held monthly. Rick actually holds these in Lakewood, Colorado, and he has a great turnout. There's a lot of people interested in the Denver metro area in these fields, and especially with these great speakers. Everyone's, of course, very welcome to attend these meetings, and we'll have Rick coming up in a minute to talk more about that. We're also going to talk to the Metro State College Crypto Science Society. This is a paranormal research organization made up of students that go to Metro State College at the Auraria campus. They've actually got other students from the community college and from CU as part of their organization. They do lectures, trainings, discussions, and also their own research. In fact, when we talk to Jason in a little bit here, he's going to tell you about some of their research and some of the exciting investigations they've done, including at the Tivoli Center there on the Auraria campus, and some of the pretty fascinating EVPs that they've gotten. If you're not familiar with EVPs, in the ghost shows like Ghost Hunters, they have to explain it every episode. That stands for Electronic Voice Phenomenon. It's something very interesting where you take a recorder to a place that may be haunted and you leave it for a period of time, and often people will be able to hear voices or sounds in these recordings that they couldn't hear with their ear. Sometimes even voices and statements and moans similar to the ones you're going to hear at the Metro State College and the Para-FPI research organization got at the Tivoli Center. Very interesting stuff, and we'll have that in just a minute. We'll also have an interview. Rick Nelson's going to interview an accomplished physicist named Claude Swanson. Claude Swanson is a very credible, well-known. He's done work for MIT and very large organizations, but he's also interested in the paranormal. And that's great, because a lot of people say, well, if there's really something to some of these subjects, then why aren't scientists interested? Well, scientists are interested, and scientists are involved. And in this first episode, we'll have Claude, and in upcoming episodes, we'll have more PhDs and scientists who are doing research, and we'll hear from what they have to say. First, though, I'll introduce myself. My name is Alejandro Rojas. I am with the Mutual UFO Network, which is actually an international organization. I'm the Director of Public Education, which includes media relations. MUFON's been around since 1969, and it's the largest civilian UFO investigative organization. We have well over 2,000 members. We're starting to get close to 3,000. We have nearly 300 certified investigators throughout the U.S., and you can read a lot of the reports that the general public has made at MUFON.com. In fact, at MUFON.com you're going to be able to find a lot of information about UFO reports. In our CMS reporting database, we get over 2,000 reports a year, In Colorado, we get over 250 reports. Colorado is definitely a hot spot, usually ranks within the top 10, and very often the top 5 as far as reports go. It could be because MUFON's very strong in this area, but I'm starting to suspect that it's actually because Colorado has a lot going on here. In fact, if you want to get involved with MUFON, the local Colorado MUFON has local meetings every month. They actually meet at the Auraria campus, and they're hosted by the Crypto Science Society. And a great meeting is coming up here in March of 2008. In March 2008, we're going to be hosting Travis Walton. He's probably the most publicly recognized UFO abduction case. Actually, if you've seen the movie Fire in the Sky, then you've seen his story. He was a logger in Arizona. Him and some of his co-workers saw a UFO, a large disc in the forest. Travis approached the disc, was somehow thrown across hundreds of feet across this field. His friends got so freaked out they took off. And the people in the car, his brother was in there as well. Well, they came back later to find out what had happened to Travis once they got up their courage, and he was gone. They didn't know where he was. They immediately reported this to local authorities, who did a manhunt, and they started to suspect foul play because they weren't able to find Travis's body or any indication of what had happened to him. He ended up coming back 5 days later without any memory of what happened to him, and he didn't have any clothes. So over time, he was able to recall actually being aboard that craft and meeting some strange-looking creatures. In Fire in the Sky, it wasn't necessarily accurate as to what happened to him aboard this craft, but if you come see him talk March 8th, 2008 at the Auraria campus, you'll be able to find out what really happened and what he recalls without any hypnosis, just by regular memory. That's going to be March 8th, Auraria campus. It's $5 for Colorado MUFON members, $10 for non-members. We also have great local speakers every month. In fact, you can see some video right now of our Christmas talk with John Schuessler. John Schuessler was actually the ex-director of the Mutual UFO Network and worked for NASA. When he worked for NASA, he was able to hear some transmissions from astronauts talking about some of the strange things they've seen, and that's what got him involved with this field. Another organization that I'm with is a New Thought Forum, and we hold monthly paranormal meetings in Fort Collins and Boulder. To find out more about those meetings, you can go to newthoughtforum.org. Right now you can see Leo Sprinkle, Dr. Leo Sprinkle, doing a talk. He's a psychiatrist and used to be a professor of psychiatry at the University of Wyoming. And he's been involved with this field and working with possible abductees for decades. He's got a lot of great information, and we'll have him on the show at one point. I also have a nonprofit organization called the Metaphysical Studies Group, and essentially what that's for is to solicit donations so we can further our research in this field and continue to put on events. Metaphysical Studies Group is actually sponsoring this television show, and if you would like to make donations, feel free to visit metaphysicalstudiesgroup.org. A couple other things. I also do a website for Paula Harris. She's an Italian UFO researcher. Now she's living in Boulder, and she travels all over the world talking about this stuff. You can see her at paolaharris.com. That's PAOLAHARRIS.com. I also do UFO and paranormal talks throughout the state, and I'd be more than happy to come talk to one of your organizations. Even if it's a very conventional organization, I have a talk called Credible and Convincing Evidence for UFOs, and I think it's hard to dispute some of the evidence after I go over this. But I'll be emceeing a talk at the UFO Watchtower in Hooper, Colorado this summer. That's in the mysterious San Luis Valley, and if you're not aware, a lot of strangeness happens in the San Luis Valley, including the very first cattle mutilation. I'll also be speaking in Roswell, New Mexico during the anniversary, representing MUFON. I do radio interviews throughout the world, and I was recently on Coast to Coast. So that's a little bit about me. You're not going to have to go through this long introduction again. Like I said, moving on, we're going to start off with paranormal news and some of the latest and greatest, and I've already got a stack of some great stuff I think you're going to love on the next episode. But coming up here, let's hear from Rick Nelson and let him go through his introduction. Then we'll hear from the Crypto Science Society, and we'll wrap things up with Rick's interview with physicist Claude Swanson, so stay tuned.
Hello, my name is Rick Nelson. I'm a co-host here on Phenomena Television in Denver, Colorado. I'm also founder of the Paranormal Research Forum based in Denver. We have monthly meetings covering the unfamiliar and the unknown. We hold investigations, we do research, hold conferences, expeditions, and monthly forums. We cover just about all aspects of the paranormal. We look for the most credible evidence possible. We use credible witnesses, credible researchers, and we look to uncover the truths that are very difficult to find, if not available when you go looking. I hope that we, with our program, are going to be able to help a lot of people get past that first step into accepting the possibility of various phenomena existing. Anything from certainly UFOs and extraterrestrials, ghosts, etc. There's more than enough credible evidence, and we hope to bring that to your attention and give you the resources necessary that you can do some research on your own. We have been around as the Paranormal Research Forum in Denver. We're going on our 4th year now. We are one of the largest in the North American continent as far as monthly meetings on these matters. We've had many physicists from around the country making presentations. We have had field trips and expeditions where people have experienced things that have been changing their perception of reality as we're taught. Even in Colorado this past year, we've had the opportunity to see things in the sky, craft, if you will, that certainly defy any conventional explanation. We occasionally rent haunted hotels and fill the entire hotel up with our people. We conduct research those evenings and have been pretty impressed with a lot of the experiences and what we've documented on video and audio. We also put on events with ghost organizations, researchers, some of the more professional ones in the area. There are several here in Colorado that are accredited and do an excellent job of conducting their investigations and presenting reports. We encourage every and anyone to have their own experiences. Nothing beats a personal, first-hand experience. We try to take the evidence that's already been presented that is quantifiable, documentable, and that are dismissed by mainstream. We take that as our basis and foundation for conducting our research. We are expecting to be researching vortexes this year, as well as orbs in a manner that has not been done before, to hopefully take it a little further and interact with some of these phenomena. About 20 years ago, I started an adventure club to explore things in my life that I feared or wanted to experience. We've done everything from jumping off of cliffs to ultralights, gliders, paragliding, dog sledding, cattle drives, caves, snow caves, to address our fears, among other things. And one of the first experiences we had was I had heard about a UFO experience by 2 young men who did not believe in UFOs on a trip they made to Utah in a remote area. So one of our first adventures about 20 years ago was to make that trip. And nearly everyone we interviewed on the way out, it was half tongue-in-cheek and a little curious. I'd always heard about UFOs. As we went out there, I was surprised to find ranchers, Native Americans, gas station workers, public officials, Park Service people. Anyone I asked about the UFO phenomena, the response was so shocking to me. They expressed that, well, yes, we've seen them. And I asked immediately, well, why hasn't the media been out to cover these things? And they said, well, why would someone? They've been here longer than we have. They don't bother us, and we don't bother them. And as I go into the years of research that I have, I found that Native or indigenous cultures anywhere in the world have interacted with and experienced these, and just accept them as a natural phenomenon. And it's only our culture that have greater difficulty with this. A number of people the first year had the great opportunity to see a craft there in Utah, and many years since. In recent years, about every trip that we've had to the San Luis Valley here in Colorado, many people have witnessed craft in the sky or lights in the night sky. About 2 years ago, one of the local newspapers, the Sentinel newspapers, had an editor and a photographer join us on the trip. And when I checked with them Monday morning when we returned, before the article was completed, the the editor of the paper told me on the way down, they rode together, about a 3.5-hour drive from Denver, that his photographer was making fun of the subject all the way down and making jokes, and really did not believe in this. But on the way back, he told me, I thought the photographer was going to have to stop at every church. He was so disturbed about his experiences and what he witnessed there in the valley. And I guess that's why the UFO watchtower is located there in the valley. To my knowledge, it's the only watchtower placed anywhere in the world. They have a tremendous amount of activity down there. Some of the more interesting cases that we've worked on, there's one here in Colorado. I'm not going to talk a lot about that at this point, but a couple of experiences we've had there are, I'll just cover more what you would refer to as poltergeist activity. About any time we go out there to do an investigation, there will be objects thrown around the room, flashes of light throughout the room, the table moving, a heavy table, moving several times. We'll have, with our sensitive audio equipment, we can find that we are picking up responses to our questions. You can hear some of them out loud and some of them only on audio tape, which is referred to as EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, which many may have seen on the ghost investigation teams on television. If you start conducting your own research, you'll find that you can have your own interaction. These things truly do take place. And we try not to judge things and tell people how to feel or believe about these paranormal experiences, but clearly something is there. Science has always documented their presence. They typically dismiss them as an anomalous condition, but quite frankly, they are real. They are there. We collect them and try to connect those dots and figure out if there's anything that this is telling us, how could we take it to the next level of understanding? Our interaction with these entities has been phenomenal. I, on one occasion, have requested that they move an object, and on our video camera in infrared night mode, we had turned the lights off, and they moved a chair for us about 2 feet. It was quite impressive. We certainly encourage you to tell others about our program, to come to the forum, as well as several other organizations here in the Colorado Front Range that have monthly meetings on these matters, and explore for yourself, find out some information you won't typically hear about that is real, is scientifically based, and help learn for yourself. It's an amazing universe we live in, and we truly know so little. If you take a look at the history of man and what we've uncovered and discovered in the last 100 years, or the last even 10 years, the rate at which we are discovering things with instrumentation, new technology, is phenomenal. And we hope you do enjoy our program. We look forward to sharing many extremely fascinating guests with you, and information and resources that will help you have a better understanding of this magnificent universe that we live in.
Okay, this is Janae Conrad. I am the Archivist Secretary with the Crypto Science Society. one thing that got me interested is I really like weird stuff and things that are just you can't explain, so that's why I joined. And so far my favorite event and kind of adventure excursion kind of thing has been the sand dunes. I think that was a lot of fun. I didn't see anything. It was this, we were supposed to hot spot for UFOs, and I didn't see anything, which sucked, but I think a couple other people did.
Okay, my name is Savannah. I'm the former treasurer and special ops, I guess, of expeditions. And I got interested in the club because I really like ghost hunting. I've been in some kind of amateur ghost hunting clubs. We didn't really use a lot of like the gadgets. We would just kind of run around in places we heard were haunted. And so I thought it was kind of neat that there was a more official and technical way to research that. And my favorite event was the sand dunes. It was an amazing place. And I like events like that, going out to like magical places in nature, I guess. But I also like going to the really spooky places and exploring those, because I think there's freaky energy. It's fun.
Hi, my name is Jason Cordova. I'm the president and founder of the Crypto Science Society. And what we're doing here is we're just having a end of the semester, post-finals kind of holiday get-together to unwind and get together and talk about things. Some of the stuff that we've got planned for next semester are some activity meetings on campus. There'll be the second Thursday of every month, and we'll be doing stuff like dowsing training, some investigator training, discussion, like open forum group discussions. We'll invite a couple guest speakers, and we plan to do a skywatch out by Daniels Park towards the end of the semester. And we're probably going to do a follow-up to the Silver Cliff investigation with a little bit more. Now that we know what's going on and what to expect, we can plan it and do a little better this time. Well, Silver Cliff is home to two cemeteries which have been renowned for years as having strange, anomalous, multicolored lights dancing around the gravestones. National Geographic has covered them. They've been featured in a few books, and a lot of local paranormal researchers have done their own research there. And unfortunately, when we went down there, the conditions weren't as conducive to the phenomenon happening there for us, so we didn't really see anything. It was a good time, but we did learn a lot. So this year we're gonna go back without a lot of the press attention, hopefully, and hopefully we'll be able to get something this time with a little bit more background on what it's about and what we can expect. As far as some of the other things that we've done, I think we should go back to campus and check it out there. All right, so here we are in Siggy's Cabaret in the bowels of the Tivoli building, which was the Tivoli building itself was a brewery from the 1800s. The cabaret itself was a kind of a nightclub area, and here we are. We're actually at the bar here. This was actually the site of one of our most successful investigations, as well as an activity that we did in conjunction with the Para-FPI. They are the local ghost hunting group. They're members of the TAPS family of Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters fame. And what they did was a sort of an investigation workshop where we set up equipment, gave public the opportunity to participate in a paranormal investigation, and actually we got some really, really good results. One of the areas down here that's not usually open to the public at all is the catacomb area, which is primarily where they used to store the beer. It had been flooded, and there's been a lot of interesting rough and tumble things that have gone on here. While some equipment was set up and locked away in that catacombs area, one of the video cameras experienced a battery drain during that segment of when the camera battery drained and shut off. There was a series of EVPs where everything from strange moans to music to the sound of a little girl sighing to the sounds of metal banging around in there. And everything was sealed off and closed off, and nobody was allowed in or out. So we knew that nobody was in there messing with the equipment. In addition to that, some of the historical information that we've dug up here in preparing for an event called the Haunted History Tour, which we do every year in conjunction with the History Club and Phi Alpha Theta, the Historians Honor Society. We discovered that there's what appears to be the spirit of a little girl named Molly who roams the halls and other places in the building and on campus. We discovered that Moritz Siggy's daughter, who was Moritz Siggy was the founder of the Tivoli Brewery, and his daughter was named Molly, and she played here often when she was a little girl. So she would have had free reign of the place and would have been a really fun place to be for her, being the brewer's daughter. That Haunted History Tour, we take people all over campus and tell them about the history of the campus itself, as well as the stories of alleged hauntings on campus, as well as evidence that we've collected in our own paranormal investigations to either corroborate or discount it. So far, it seems like most of the haunting cases, there is something to it. Another part of the history tour we feature is the 9th Street Park, which is a series of historic landmark buildings on the other end of campus. They're offices now. They used to be houses. And there's lots of stories of some of the former residents still hanging out there. One of the ones I like is the apparition of Dr. Smedley, who was a dentist who liked to set up his chair in the second floor front room and watch things going on in the street. People today still see his silhouette in that front room and hear creaking around upstairs when nobody's supposed to be there. And everything from basic people being tugged at, to hearing things going on in those houses, to full body apparitions like that. Another site on campus is St. Elizabeth's Catholic Church. It's the only still functioning Catholic church on campus, and it was the scene of a grisly murder of a priest in the 20s, and there's been a lot of activity reported there as well. The events that we've had this semester, we've had a couple guest speaker workshop, very successful. One of them was Rainbow Eagle, who's Okla Choctaw wisdom keeper, who's traveling around teaching people about their ways, their knowledge about spirituality, stories of the star people, Bigfoot, and skinwalker phenomenon. We've also brought the Sci-Fi Channel Ghost Hunters, Jason and Grant, to campus in October. They filled the turn hall and packed it with more than 300 people, and we really got to meet them and talk to them and learn a lot from them. And we're pretty excited to hopefully continue working with them in the future. And I think that over the last year and a half, the Crypto Science Society has grown tremendously. I'm really excited to see how far it's come from me posting up flyers around campus just to see if anybody would be interested, to now having 20 some active members and 100 plus on the mailing contact list. So we've really come a long way, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really happy to be working with Phenomena TV, and I hope to, I'm glad and excited to be able to work with Phenomena TV again in the future. For more information about the Crypto Science Society, you can visit our website at www.mscd.edu/crypto, CRYPTO.
Good evening. We're so happy you could join us this evening. We're here with Dr. Claude Swanson. My name is Rick Nelson. I'm founder of the Paranormal Research Forum based in Denver. And Dr. Claude Swanson is a physicist, author of the book The Synchronized Universe. And you were educated at MIT and then went on to Princeton, as I recall, for your doctorate, and went back to Princeton and Cornell for postdoctoral work. And rather than have me try and determine or explain to our audience a little about your background, perhaps you could cover very briefly some of your work experience and your interests.
Sure. Nice to be here, first of all, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got involved in physics, I guess, out of curiosity. When I was a young kid, I wanted to know how things worked and how things all fit together. You know, it's hard when you look out at a night sky with all the clear stars. You can't help wondering, you know,
yes.
how did that get there? And it's huge, and what's our connection to it all? When I went to college and then grad school, I had that in mind. I wanted to know the answer, and I thought, well, I'll go to really good colleges and I'll take all the courses in physics and I'll learn the answers, you know. And I was kind of surprised that I got this uneasy feeling that I wasn't getting a very satisfying picture of how things fit together. One of the problems with physics is that the way it's usually done, you get the experiments first. You know the answer, you know how it comes out, and then someone has to make a theory of it. And there usually are some beautiful ideas, a few of them in our current physics, but a lot of times it's more like they're fudging. It felt more to me as though there are things you can tweak here and there to make the theory work out the way you
fit a model.
Exactly, yeah. And so I began working on my own theory kind of on the side. In grad school, I worked with the Dickey gravity group at Princeton. Bob Dickey was the Nobel Prize winner, invented the maser, which is a forerunner of the laser. And we worked on, you know, the big picture of how the cosmos, the deep space, big questions of the universe. But and then what I decided was I was just going to keep on working on the side on this idea of a deeper, better physics theory that made sense to me, while doing practical applied physics to make a living. So I worked for various companies and had my own company for a long time, doing consulting work for the government in microwaves and lasers and infrared sensing and hydrodynamics and even ballistics. I invented a new kind of armor back in the 70s. But my real love was this unified field theory, the deep questions. In the mid-'80s, I began to understand that there were some things that went on in our universe that didn't really fit. And that gave me ideas. I began looking at what I've been taught that might not really mesh up with what really goes on. And that's how the paranormal stuff started for me. And what I've been amazed by is that all of these fields that we're taught don't really happen. They're taught they're hoaxes, like ghosts, for example. You know, and you look into it, and the evidence is overwhelming. These things are real. Our science can't explain it, but they're real.
We can document its existence, but we can't explain it at present with our current understanding and belief systems. But that is going to be the topic of our talk this evening, is the afterlife, death, and the ghost experiences. So could you perhaps cover some of the brief experiments that clearly acknowledge the presence of an afterlife?
Sure.
Or another reality that we do not explain in our current three-dimensional daily life?
At this point, our knowledge of the afterlife is coming from a variety of different types of experiments and different types of pretty hard data. Number one, we have a lot of people now who have been clinically dead for a certain amount of time, minutes, in some cases even hours. And while they're dead, then afterwards they're revived again. We have technologies now with CPR, etc., that sometimes can bring people back to life. There are some cases where we just can't explain why they suddenly revived. But when they do, they have stories of what happened while they were, quote, dead. And there's a pattern to these. Dr. Raymond Moody interviewed hundreds of these people and found that no matter what their religion was, they had a similar series of events that they went through. First, they went out of body. They found themselves floating near the ceiling, looking at their body. Next, a tunnel opened up. Next, they went through the tunnel into a domain of beautiful white light with these loving beings that gave them a very quick review of their life from the point of view of the people who they had affected. And they judged themselves. And so we have a whole image of what this other dimension looks like from the point of view of people who have actually been there.
An external perception of themselves.
Exactly. Another piece of evidence comes from hypnosis. When therapists hypnotize patients to go back to look at their early childhood memories of traumas, things that might cause them trouble in later life, they sometimes find those people will actually go past their birth, and they'll find themselves in another region between lives. And they're in this heaven-like realm, and they'll be able to describe events. There are actually things that go on. There's training, there's learning. These are in the spirit form.
You mean a non-earthly experience.
Exactly.
With other life forms or beings.
Right. And apparently it looks as though we all go through something like this. Then if you take the person further back in time, they'll find another lifetime that they had before this one. So from regression hypnosis, we found this same picture that we have the physical life, then we have a conscious existence in a spirit form without the physical stuff, and then beyond that, earlier lives. So this is also there are people who do research on past life cases. A lot of times when children are very young, they will remember their past life. If you listen to them playing, when they first gain the ability to speak, ages 3, 4, 5, 6, they'll have very specific information that's way beyond their years.
I've heard many mothers that talk about when they ask a child a simple question such as, who were you before you were here? The amazing responses before they forget what has gone on before, or they have been reconditioned or retaught in our environment how things are as we believe it.
Exactly. And Professor Ian Stevenson is one of the most famous who went to many thousands of children in India who had vivid memories of their early life, of their previous life, and went to he would gather up the information, what village, names of family members, occupation, things like that, go to the other village and find the family that this person thought they'd come from, and was able to verify the information to a very high level of accuracy for thousands of cases. So it looks as though reincarnation is on a firm empirical basis.
Yes. Our culture seems to be embracing, with television and movies, the afterlife more and more. And people's personal experiences, it's really nice for people to confirm and hear about scientific research studies that document many cases that do acknowledge the presence and existence of this. As it drifts into our mainstream culture, hopefully there will be more work like you're doing that will allow us to understand enough that we can, more and more people can get in touch with those who have passed on, relatives, friends, or others.
And those are other ways that we also have to verify this picture. If you watch John Edwards' show, Crossing Over, or whatever it's called this time around, but there are lots of very highly talented mediums who can speak to people when they're in that spirit realm. And the kinds of information they come up with can be extremely accurate. I mean, there are always skeptics who say, well, they were using trickery to make it look like they were getting information. But Professor Gary Schwartz at the University of Arizona has done experiments with John Edward and other highly gifted mediums where they do blind readings without being able to get any feedback at all from the person that they're doing their reading on, and be able to get information about the departed loved ones that are very specific and far exceed chance. So it's actually pretty well documented now that mediumship, at least among the very best ones, is accurate. They're actually contacting some kind of intelligence. There's even now a general area of research called electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, where some ghost researchers have found that spirits in their non-physical form are able to still affect tape recorders to leave messages that when you play them back, you can actually hear them and understand what they're saying. Sometimes you have to slow them down because time in this other realm is not the same as time for us. But communication between these dimensions is one of the really exciting forefronts in this field.
Mark Macy, I believe, has done quite a bit of work here in Colorado.
Right.
He's one of the forerunners over the last 25 years, I believe, with a group of Germans in this arena. But electronic voice phenomenon is something you see on television more and more with the ghost investigation groups where you can ask, and many people, including I, have been able to ask questions, leave it open-ended and quiet after a question, only to find out afterwards, even though we hear nothing, you can hear a response on your tape recorder. And some of you might want to try that yourselves if you haven't. It's a fascinating thing to realize we've never taken the time or effort to interact with other realities we coexist with. And your work is hopefully going to open doors for people to allow them to accept and realize our potential.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the funny thing is, if you go to a graveyard or go to a haunted area, just turn that recorder on, leave it open, and what you may find afterwards is you don't hear voices. Maybe you hear a snap or a crackle or a hiss. It doesn't always sound like a voice, because when these little orbs or these the spirits where we think the consciousness is located, when they pass through a tape recorder, they move very quickly. They have only a second or so maybe to leave the message. So oftentimes you have to slow it down before you hear it. But it's surprising how often it's a coherent, understandable voice when you do that. One thing one other piece of the puzzle to me is how this fits in with what we're learning about the human body. That what we're learning with Chinese medicine and Eastern medicine in general is that the body has energy fields. around it. These energy fields really probably arise because of the way the cells have to communicate with each other to get our body to grow into the shape that it's supposed to be.
Or not.
And the first approximation, and tell cells how to specialize as fingernails or hair follicles, and so this energy field exists on several dimensions. We call them auras, but
The etheric bodies?
the etheric bodies, right, and it looks as though these bodies exist in sort of other higher dimensions than the physical body, and they're the ones that hang around and persist after the physical body passes on. So that in a sense, the soul, the consciousness that goes on after us, is in these higher dimensional bodies. So the picture is starting to fit together.
It seems like with our new technologies, even the conventional technologies, our video cameras, infrared video cameras, we're able to start capturing things we didn't readily have access to. And I presume that's a lot of the experimentation going on.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, you have to be careful, obviously, with orb pictures. I mean, everyone nowadays is getting little blobs on their
Right.
photographs, and we call those orbs. Orbs can occur from a bright light off, it's called lens flare, or
Refractions,
water droplets
reflections,
and bugs and stuff like that.
dust.
So but when you discount all those things, and there are various ways of removing those things, there are still phenomena that are real. And of course, the night shot video, which uses infrared, sees little orbs that actually move around, and they have conscious movement, and they look, they look for all the world like it's a conscious entity that's not human, that's present in the scene. So, it's very exciting to come back with one of those pictures.
I've watched many of them on my infrared video shots come right through a wall, which clearly defies any and everything you could possibly rationalize it as. But the dimensions that you talk about with your book, it's exciting to realize the potential and the ramifications, communicating with those who have passed on. Or is it possible in your mind to look into the future?
It is. I've done a lot of thinking about this. This is one of those great challenges for science, for physics, because we have, in our science, we predict the future all the time. It's built in, we make predictions. But at the same time, we believe we have free will. And some of the wisest people on the planet say we have free will. So that we have these two things. And free will means that you can't predict the future, because the human can change it. And what I've come to the conclusion from a lot of research is that we have kind of a limited or a mixed free will, where events in the future are likely. There are certain events that are likely.
It's like a default future unless we...
It's a most
redirect.
probable event. So if people do remote viewing, or if a psychic who's a prophet looks into that event, they'll see a certain future. But if there's enough of the right kind of action, the right kind of prayer, the right kind of meditation, we can shift it to some other possibility, and then next time you look, you may see a different future. So we have some power to change it.
It's like Dr. Emoto's work, the influence on water, the measurable influence on human intention. That is such a dramatic experience.
Yeah.
An experiment to look at and realize we have that much power. And I think when people realize personally what we truly have the ability to do, we start to utilize it more. And the more we utilize it, the more it works in our life. And it's acceptance of our human ability and power that we're never taught through conventional means. Of course, I guess most cultures live off of us being a little more helpless and relying on them to make decision choices and do things for us, but we have perhaps a lot more power than we're taught.
Well, we may be approaching one of those great shifts in consciousness. It's always been true in the past that leaders view their job to keep their followers in line and to follow and do what they're told. And that's been the pattern of history. And Machiavelli and others had certain ideas on how to make sure that the followers always follow and don't think for themselves too much. But we're at a time now where it may be really important for everyone to wake up, to develop their full conscious abilities, and to look at what's happening around us and decide, are we happy with the present course we're on, or is some other course maybe more advantageous, better for us? And if so, how can we shift events, in a peaceful and positive and a loving way? And one of the processes that makes me really happy is synchronized prayer, synchronized meditation.
You're speaking of individually and collectively, both have outcomes.
Exactly.
And collectively, I would presume, is a lot stronger and can affect more.
Exactly. When we pray together or we meditate together, we ask with energy and with love, and when we do it together in a kind of synchronized way, it seems to have even more power. So the power of the conscious mind can really change the path that we're on. And I think we're at that time where we might want to change the path that we're on.
Is Princeton doing a group consciousness project, as I recall?
There's something called the Global Consciousness
Yes.
Project that Dean Radin and Roger Nelson have been involved in. They have little devices called random event generators that are electronic, and they can record random events, but they found that human consciousness can shift the pattern of these meters. And when people do these group synchronized prayers around the world, these meters around the world are affected. So it's proof that our mind is able to affect events around the world and really change the path that we're on.
There's a measurable result from that. Exactly what it means from there, we're not certain, but obviously we're having impact at some level.
Yeah.
And again, I think we all sell ourselves short on our abilities. And you're also working on your new book, which you hope to have out here in 2008. And what specifically do you cover in that might be helpful?
The
for
new
people
book
now?
focuses on the one thing that's left out of Synchronized Universe, and that is what's called subtle energy. It's the energy that a Reiki master beams at his patient to achieve healing. And what we know is that subtle energy really changes physics.
Is what the Chinese call the manipulation of qi?
Yes.
The movement of energy or qi?
The qi is another name for it, exactly. And when a yogi wants to levitate, he builds it up in his body. It seems to be present whenever our physics laws start doing strange things.
Mm-hmm. So we each have the ability to influence energy's power, or qi, that we're certainly underutilizing. And it seems like back in the 70s and 80s, we had a lot of self-improvement courses, and all that we're truly talking about is this power of intention and reprogramming ourselves to access that power that we've got.
It's been called the life force, and it really does change the way the world operates. It changes our laws of physics at every level. So it's really a revolution in science. So my book is really going to be focusing on how that life force operates, what it does for us, how it plays a role in our lives, and and also trying to develop a better understanding of how to use it and fit it into our current science.
Your book has really helped me on a lot of levels to see what my personal experiences are confirmed in your book with experiments, and it's allowed me to move a little forward with my perception, understanding, and my actions to achieve different outcomes. And your website is what?
www.synchronizeduniverse. Synchronized is SYNCHRONIZED, synchronized. I'm sorry, that's a complicated word, but it's got a Z in it.
Well, I guess
synchronizeduniverse.com.
I guess you got that at MIT. But we just have so little time to cover so much. And the Synchronized Universe, fortunately, is one book that covers dozens of topics of the paranormal in a way that people can relate to, not the rumors they've heard or the jokes that are made, but real work that's been done and the results that show you that every bit of this phenomenon is genuine, real, credible, quantifiable, and as you and others like you spend the time and effort to understand it greater, share with others how it does work. We can't thank you enough for all of your work, your personal drive, your persistence, your passion in life. And it's up to a handful of people like you with your research to help redirect our culture. And we're so grateful that you have done what you've been doing and continue to.
Thank you.